So we start the SAP community call for today. Welcome to everyone on the line. This is Svea Becker speaking from the SAP community team, and I'm really happy to have two speakers here today for our community call. We have Tanja and Daniel. Tanja Reith is a solution manager in the SAP Industries organization. She's responsible for agribusiness, and she has over 20 years of experience in go-to-market and solution management. And she is part of the SAP Rural Sourcing Management team. Daniel will present a demo later on. He joined the rural team in 2014. His key responsibilities are the development of the mobile components of the rural sourcing management, while also working together with customers to transform their requirements into a customized traceability solution. Tanja and Daniel, welcome on board today in our SAP community call.
Thank you so much, Svea. Thanks a lot for the introductions, and also thanks a lot for the opportunity to present our solution today. It's very nice to get the message out. The solution that we are presenting today is maybe something you will be surprised to hear that from SAP, because SAP clearly being the software provider for enterprises, for big corporates, you would never expect that we also have our role when it goes into developing countries, when it goes into reaching participants of the bottom of the pyramid, like you have with smallholder farmers in Africa. But that is exactly what we are doing with this solution. And I have prepared a couple of slides, but we also wanted to make sure to make this real so that you really see what we are doing. And Daniel will actually provide a demo of the mobile application that you will see later on. So to kick it off, I have prepared a couple of slides that gives you a little bit background on the global trends in the agribusiness industry, which have been the motivation for SAP to invest in a solution like SAP Rural Sourcing Management. And then we will, of course, go into detail and share with you what the solution is all about. And my ambition or my hope would be that you see that SAP is really innovative, that we are doing great new things, and even things that you would maybe not expect from the traditional SAP. So global trends in the agribusiness industry. So when you look at this picture, you see on the left-hand side a picture very crowded with people. And that is actually the reality, and it will be even more the reality in the future. It's a clear, defined macroeconomic challenge that we will face a very strong increase of population by 2050. So the predictions say that we will reach 10 billion people by that year. And that ultimately means for us, and especially for the agribusiness industry and consumer products companies, that we will need more food on the planet to feed those 10 billion people. This means that we strongly need to increase our agricultural output, which means we need to grow more and we need to harvest more. But the challenge on this is that the sources we have on the planet are not doubling and increasing in the same manner. So what does that mean? We really have an increase of population. We need to harvest more food, but we only have, let's say, the same amount of yield and the same amount of water that we actually have today. So that is the one big trend we see actually in agribusiness. The other one is more consumer related. So a couple of years back, I think it was still pretty easy for consumers to go to a supermarket and to buy your product that you wanted to have, like your chocolate bar in the afternoon. I think these days consumers are much more socially conscious about what they are buying. So they really want to make sure that their food is healthy. They also want to make sure that the value chain from which the product results is not does not have an impact on, for example, the social life of people in that respect that you would, for example, think that any child work would be involved. And especially in the industries such as cocoa, child work, for example, is a very heavy problem. So consumers really ask for highest quality, and they also look into sustainability KPIs for their products. And that puts a pressure on consumer products companies and also on food producing companies. So they really need to make sure that in the end their products have the right certifications, that the ingredients are, for example, fair trade certified, to make sure and that they have an easy way to prove that the farmers from which they got their cocoa beans were fairly paid. All these trends result in a couple of challenges actually for agricultural producers and really for the whole industry. So we really need to produce more high quality food in order to be able to earn the consumer trust. On the other hand, we learned we need to save resources because they do not double and grow in the same extent as the population does. And on the same side, a lot of the commodities, agricultural commodities, are actually traded on stock exchange, which means volatile prices also have an impact on the profit margin of those companies. So all in all, what does that mean? We and the production of those companies need to become more and more sustainable. And to be very honest with you, that of course applies to industrialized countries. It applies to the Western countries in the world where we have all the nice technique and where we are very well connected and have all the infrastructure that we wish. But it also applies to different environments. If you wear your t-shirt and if you drink your cup of coffee, you do not automatically think about that many of these commodities are actually coming from developing countries. But they do. We see that for cocoa, we see it for coffee, we see it for cotton. So it's really the products that you see in your daily life. And where with the digitization, we really have the chance to make a difference, where we can automate processes, where we can easily work with the smallholders together to become more collaborative, and in the end also make sure that those products are in the end sustainably harvested. These trends and also in the conversations with our customers, this brought us to the decision that we are investing in a solution that is called SAP Rural Sourcing Management. And the solution has quite a history. So it's not that we developed that from scratch with a pure business background. This has a history that goes back to 2009 and 2010 when SAP started to cooperate with GIZ. GIZ is the Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit, and is actually the organization that executes development projects for the German Federal Ministry for Development Cooperation. And SAP research, let me say more from a corporate social responsibility perspective, worked with GIZ on projects to find out how digital technology, and in this case especially mobile technology, can help to simplify procurement processes in developing countries. And by that, ultimately also make the lives of cooperatives easier, but ultimately also the lives of the smallholder farmers. And even better, can we have a social impact with these solutions on the smallholder farmer? And no surprise, we can. So the solution that we developed is a mobile application that makes sure that we can digitally include smallholder producers. It serves to capture high volume transactions like you have them in the procurement process when you buy from those smallholder farmers. But it also captures everything around payment, about logistics, and everything that is actually involved in a purchasing process. We have a couple of additional functionalities that we will go in a minute. But one thing that I really want to highlight is actually the social component. The track record that you can digitally capture with this mobile application can serve as a basis for financial services for the smallholder producers. I think in the past it was very difficult for those smallholder farmers to prove that they have a regular income and by that get really access to financial services or insurances, or maybe even to input supply. With the mobile application, a cooperative, for example, can clearly get a track record of a smallholder farmer. They can give them a statement of his earnings, and by that he ultimately gets the clear proof point and by that access to the services. So I think that's really something that is very important, and I think also something that we are very proud of, that we can here really achieve what we call a shared value, a business value, as well as a social value for the smallholder farmers. To go a little bit deeper into the solution, the SAP Rural Sourcing Management solution does have 3 components. So first of all, it's the mobile app, and the mobile app is actually used on an Android phone. It will be the field agent of either a cooperative or of a warehouse or of a producing company. So really depending on how the organizational setup of the agricultural value chain looks like. But it's usually the person who is the contact at the point of the purchasing, when the smallholder farmer goes really to the central point and is coming with his 2 bags of coffee beans and is actually selling his cocoa beans. So that is the one thing. And then we do have a desktop web access, which is more, I call it the tool for the central operations team. So this is where you can maintain all your master data that will actually be in the systems. You will capture here anything on the smallholders, on the commodities that you are buying, and a couple of further data that we will go into. And thirdly, we also have analytics. Very clearly, a very great advantage that we can make use of from our SAP offering if we combine the mobile application together with the SAP Cloud Analytics, which really allows us to do any kind of reporting that we want to gather from the data that we have collected in the field. So I very quickly go over the functionality of the mobile app and the desktop web access, and then Daniel will really show this to you in a short demo. So with the mobile app, as I said, you capture at the point of collection, at the point of the purchase, any information on the smallholder farmer, the personal data, but you will also capture, for example, if this is a certified farmer, what are the payment conditions. You will actually be able to collect also how does the produce look like, what is the quantity, what is the quality, what is the grading. You will have here also the price information. You can put in what is the payment method by which the smallholder farmers will be paid. So will he get a cash payment? Will it be a mobile payment? Will he even be granted a loan? You can also put in here the transportation logistics, which is another nice feature as part of the mobile app. And clearly the advantage is that you get rid of all this paperwork and Excel sheets that you had in the past, and you really have all the information digitally available and everything always at hand when you need it. So the second component is actually the desktop web access. And as I said, this is really the place where the operations team for example, in the warehouse or in the cooperative, would put in the data. First of all, it's to maintain any data on organizations, on the people, on the individual smallholders. You can capture any products and any certifications. And you will also maintain here the price information that may change on a daily basis. Your field agents who are out in the field will get the updated price information whenever they get online. So the whole thing is, the mobile application is actually online and offline capable, which means that you can capture data in the field and you can synchronize it at every point in time when you have online connection again. This would also be the place where you can set up any surveys that you want to do among your smallholder farmers. So this is, for example, to ask them about, let's say, their deployment of fertilizers. Did they attend trainings? What did they learn from it? So all these things you would, as an agricultural company or as a cooperative, being interested in when talking to your smallholder farmers. And having that said, I would stop sharing and would hand over to Daniel to show us the mobile application in more detail.
And in front of it, you can see a screenshot.
So Daniel, I think we couldn't hear you. We couldn't hear your first sentences. Oh. So if you could maybe just repeat them very quickly. Daniel? Daniel, I think you're breaking up.
Hello, hello.
Now we can hear you.
It seems that the connection is not so good at your side, so please try again.
Daniel?
So we're in the meanwhile, Tanja, when we're waiting for Daniel to set up his audio, I was thinking about, so this is a really interesting story, and I was thinking about the smartphones and the mobile devices which the smallholders need to provide. Mm-hmm. When you said most of the times we are talking here about developing countries, so yeah. Who would provide those devices?
That's a very good question, Svea. And this is exactly where we are working very closely together with various stakeholders of such an ecosystem and such a supply chain. Because as you could imagine, when it comes also to the service providers and the industries who do have, let's say, an interest and a motivation to work together with smallholder farmers, it's not only actually the agribusiness companies or the traders. There is a whole ecosystem that involves insurance companies, banks, and sometimes we have directly these stakeholders being part of the whole picture. But what we also see in this is that, for example, the cooperative or the company was actually the starting point of building up this value chain end to end, that they actually take care of, let's say, the mobile devices. So that's for sure. They need to have a motivation and a willingness to invest in the mobile devices. And then it's about the rollout, right? How to bring those mobile devices, how to bring the mobile app actually to the field agents. And this is where we are, for example, working very closely together with GIZ, the public organization that I mentioned at the beginning, with whom we worked together in the early days. They have representations in all of these developing countries, and they are very strong in rolling out and executing projects like these. And they help us exactly with the rollout of this application in countries such as Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda. So this is where they all have their representations.
This is perfect. I was thinking about maybe pasting the link into the chat window and the exact name, and maybe you have the link to the GIZ organization, and you can do it when Daniel is starting the demo.
Okay.
Can you hear me properly now?
Yes, very good, Daniel.
better.
Go
Great.
ahead. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry for the delay. So should we start the demo now?
Yeah.
Of course.
Great. Okay, so what you can see here in the background is our central web access, and in the foreground you see a screen share of our current mobile app. So for context, what we are doing right now, imagine we are a field agent at a fictional cocoa company, and in front of us right now is a producer who wants to sell his two sacks of cocoa to us right now. So on here you see the main menu of the app, and with all the different transactions that can be captured in here, these are all business actions that can be done by the field agent. Since right now, a producer wants to sell something to us, we will capture a buying transaction, which is this green button. And in here, you can see all the relevant transaction details. For example, the transaction date and the current buying station that we are logged in. A buying station is the lowest level of organization that our current company has. So now we have to select the farmer, which is selling the produce to us, which we can do by either selecting him from a list where we can see all the different farmers that are on our that are registered in our buying station. We can also search for him. Now you see a pop-up. This pop-up tells you to hand the phone over to this farmer, and it prompts you to enter a PIN. This is another feature of ours that can be enabled, which allows you that to only capture transactions that were done by the explicit permission of the farmer. So this PIN is only known by the farmer and not stored in our system directly. So this way, the farmer has a secret and he can authorize transactions that are done to him so that no point of fraud is done. So now the farmer has been selected and his phone number is also visible, and we can confirm the transaction details. In here, you can now see the capturing of the batch details. For example, if he wants to sell 2 bags to us and each bag has a different barcode, we can enter those barcodes in here. And we can capture the weight of each different sack. Like for example, this sack weighs 80 kilograms, and we can also fill out a receipt number if there's some kind of paper-based system that still isn't intact. I will just put in anyone. And we can also see the current price that was set by the management in the central web access. So now we can confirm this batch. And you can see an overview of this transaction. Since we only captured 1 sack now, we can also capture the second one by clicking on the Add Batch button. And now we capture the barcode for the second batch and the weight of this sack, like for example, 85 kilograms. This is more heavy. And now we see the overview of the complete transaction with the 2 bags that have been captured. And if everything is in order and we have checked all values, we can confirm this transaction. So now we are back on the main menu, and on the bottom right, you see this little 1. This indicates that there's 1 transaction that can be synchronized up to the server, since this app is completely offline capable. So what would be the next step now? So right now we have the 2 bags of cocoa in our buying station, and now we want to load it onto a truck to further process it back in the warehouse. We can do this by the loading to warehouse transaction, which would be registering the step where produce is loaded onto a truck. On this screen, we can search for buying transactions that have happened, like for example, our buying that we just captured right now. And you see here all the different buyings that have happened over the time for your loading, for your organization. You can select all of them, but the one that we are interested right now is at the bottom here. You see all the relevant information of this transaction. Together it was 80 and 85 kilograms, so it's 165 kilograms. It was captured today, and you also see the total value. So now we can select this transaction and load it onto the truck. And in here, you can see that we can capture even more information about the truck. We can say to which organization it is going right now. So it is coming from the demo buying station to the demo warehouse. We can also capture the driver's name and his license plate. This is so you can track the deliveries between each. We also see the capturing person, which is stored again. So we always see which person which employee of your community authorized a shipment. And after we have captured this, we can also capture the batch details. This is just a single one. Let's say, for example, those 2 sacks have been filled into one bigger sack right now, which also got a barcode. And then this would be a sack with the weight of 165 kilograms. You can see, you can also add comments in here, and you see the familiar transaction overview screen where you can see all information again. And if everything's correct, you can finish it. Then you go into a comparison screen where you see the values of the buying transaction that you have selected and the loading. They are compared, and you see that the weight is okay. We have not lost anything, and there also have been no typing errors. For example, 170 or 180 kilograms put in here. So everything is in order, and the capturing person can now confirm this transaction. So the job for this person would be done now with the cocoa, and the cocoa would be on its way to the warehouse. And then we can log into this warehouse. So right now we are switching the organization. On the top left, you see that we are currently logged in at the demo buying station, and we will switch to the demo warehouse now. You now see that all the processes have been switched, and you see the available processes that our user at the warehouse can do now. You also see that in the uppermost process, the offloading at the warehouse, there is an information that one loading hasn't been offloaded yet, and we want to do exactly this since the truck has now arrived at our organization. So we click on it. Perfect. And this is the familiar search screen again. So now we see there, there is one loading that has happened to our demo warehouse from the demo buying station with a weight of 165 kilograms. And then we confirm that this is exactly the loading that we want, and that we want to offload it by clicking on the button on the bottom. We can see and enter the transaction details, and you see that some relevant information has already been pre-filled. For example, the license plate information, the date, and the organizations that this logistic transaction has happened between. We can confirm these transactions, and now we capture the batch again. We put in the barcode of the big sack that is offloaded from the truck, and we capture the weight. You see here that there's a lot more grading criteria that are being captured for this batch right now. This is because usually there are better information that can be done, like better information about the cocoa sacks, and they can be graded already when they are offloaded from the truck. You can also see here that when clicking OK, it is prompting us that some required field is missing. You see, we have forgotten to put in the moisture here. The moisture of the cocoa beans, which on this fictional cooperative, we would have to enter these values when offloading it. So this is an information to the capturing person that they missed to put in some values. After we have captured the batch details, we can, like for every transaction, see the information. And after finishing it, we are prompted with the comparison screen again, which tells us that the compared weight is okay and we have not lost anything on the drive. So now, right now, our offloading is finished and the produce is safely checked into the warehouse. We can then do a processing transaction where, for example, we capture even more grading criteria for the cocoa. Let's just do this. So 2 steps are captured in there. Let's say, for example, we have a processing machine that sucks the moisture out of our cocoa, but it can only handle 100 kilograms at the part. So now we have filled in our produce, our 160 kilograms into one smaller sack. we select it and we say that the net weight is only 100 kilograms. And you see there's all the grading criteria that we could have captured in the offloading again here, which we have not captured. And we confirm this transaction again. And now the 100 kilograms that we have gotten from the offloadings would be in our processing machine. But now we want to get it out of here since the machine has finished the processing and now it got lighter. You see here, we can select all those different processing start transactions again. On the bottom, you see our transaction that we have captured right now. This is, for example, if you have multiple machines or multiple different processing functionalities that you all want to capture. We will check ours now and we will finish this processing in the bottom. And like always, you can put in the barcodes. And since we got moisture out of the cocoa right now, the weight has lowered. We have put in 100 kilograms and we only got out 80 kilograms, but now the moisture is at 0%. So the cocoa has been dried. And you will see now that when I click on finish, the comparison between the processing start and end shows us that 20 kilograms are missing. This is just to check for the capturing person. This is not stopping our transaction from being captured. So we can confirm this, and our warehouse manager now knows that 20 kilograms are gone. So now, what are other things that you can capture at this warehouse? For example, you can do trainings. We can capture the training attendance with our app. Trainings can be maintained in the central web interface that you can see in the background here. For example, if I click on the training right now, you see all the different training topics. Some are assigned, some are unassigned, some are new, and there's also different training groups. For example, our training demo training group in here, which I have just set to the demo buying station. So when we go to the mobile app and we want to capture a training attendance, we first have to select a training date. So when this class of people came into the warehouse and were trained, and we also select the training group, which is just our demo training group right now. Then we see all the different topics that this training group still has to do. And as you see, this training group was not very busy. They took not that many trainings. We will just do the lowermost training today, the household training. We could also select more. And now we are capturing the details of this training attendance. We can select all the different trainees that have been in this, that are in this training group right now. So in our regular class that is coming there, I will just select every one of them, since everyone was here. And we can also select that other farmers that are not in our system right now have joined, like, for example, 2 male and 3 other female visitors. We can also specify subtopics and languages. So for example, if other things have been spoken about in our training, we can capture this. And if we are fine with everything, we can confirm it. And then the training attendance has been captured. So right now we can see in our central web interface and in our reporting that that a training has happened on a specific day about specific topics and which farmers were even there. This can, for example, be very important if you want to certify your farmers after they have completed a set number of trainings. Some other information that Tanja has just spoken about would be the survey component. We can do this at the buying station level. If you scroll down here, you see there's a lot of other transactions. For example, you can pay a farmer, you can capture a premium, which would be to pay a farmer more. You can also change pins, prices, and you can fill out surveys, which we will do right now. Yeah, we search for the farmer again. And for every transaction that is about a farmer, we have put in a pin, the pin for this farmer again, which only he knows. And now we see all surveys that have been assigned to this farmer. This example is only a census, so some generic information about this farmer, for example, about which fertilizers he uses. Some information has been pre-filled and some others we have to fill out ourselves. For example, the survey is done today. He has no children, or let's say he has 1 children. And now we select which fertilizers he is using. Let's just say he is using no fertilizers. And there's 2 people in his household, himself and his child. And if we wanted to click on confirm now, it tells us that there are 2 sub-surveys missing. Sub-surveys are information that is put in like with relevance of the normal survey. So, for example, this sub-survey here right now wants us to tell the survey holder more about the household members, because we said there are 2 people in our household. So we say, yeah, that's us. This is our farmer. This is ourselves. And then we have to capture another sub-survey since there are 2 people in our household, and this would be our child that we are living with. And then we also have to select, since we selected that it was a child, when this child was born.
So you may ask yourself, why is this information all important? I think some of the functionalities that Daniel showed, when it really comes to which fertilizers did you use, how much seedings did you get into the ground. It's really about this whole thing that I mentioned in the beginning. It's about how can we increase yield, how can we increase output. And I think the whole industry is really very much motivated to help those smallholder farmers to increase their yield. And with also getting the data on their families, right? So how big is the family that actually depends on the income of one smallholder farmer, also allows to really prove afterwards what impact do we have with reaching a smallholder farmer, right? How did it help this smallholder farmer to send his children to school, to pay actually the money for them to go to school? So this is why all this information comes together. So it's all about getting data, how can you increase yield, but then also what is the magnitude, what is the social impact that we can reach with this. Sorry, Daniel, I just wanted to bring this in to give a little bit more of context and background.
Of course, but the timing was perfect, so this would actually conclude my demo.
Excellent, thank you.
I would have a question to that little red bubble with a 7 in your previous demo. What does this indicate now? Because the first action you did, you said you can see number 1. And with each and every other action you did, it was just plus. For example, now it's plus is 7. So
that's right.
Mean the transaction you do, or what does it mean?
Exactly. So we can synchronize our phone now with the server, which I did just by clicking on this bubble and clicking start. And the 7 tells us that there are 7 different transactions that have been captured. So 1 buying, 1 loading, 1 offloading, and so on. Mm-hmm. And those 7 data points can be uploaded to the server right now. So for example, if I did 50 buyings, then there would be a 50. Okay. And right now it is synchronizing the app with the server. It has uploaded and downloaded all the new information. So our 7 items are uploaded, and new information about maybe registered farmer or new surveys that have to have been captured are downloaded. And now the synchronization is finished, and we are back on the main menu, and it's showing that there are no transactions left to synchronize. So this is just a reminder for the currently logged in person. Hey, you have new transactions that are still not on the server, please synchronize them.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Good, then I will maybe go back to the slides and finish it off with some more details. So Daniel went through the 2 components, the mobile app as well as the desktop, which is the piece for the operations team. There is a 3rd component to the solution, which is really all about analytics and reporting. And as you can imagine, with all the data that Daniel just showed that we are capturing, you can do really any kind and formats of reportings you want to have. And I think that becomes especially interesting when you look into exactly the two things, which farmers actually could increase their yield, which ones are the most productive smallholder farmers, which ones of them did attend the trainings, which ones of them could increase their income, so all these kind of things. You can also make very nice analysis of, for example, how did, for example, the deployment of fertilizers come through actually in the increase of output, right? And you can also have it very nicely with geo information, where you do have here the location on there, so that you can see it also from a location perspective. So just to go through a couple of examples, what you see here is actually information on smallholder production. And as I said, you would have, for example, here unit 1 showing with the magnitude what they actually harvested. You see also very nice on this the number of female and male farmers. You may think, why is that needed? But you need to know that in developing countries, there are many programs that actually promote women to become entrepreneurs and really women to make progress when it comes to their future and to get educated and to become independent. And that is why there is a high interest to also capture that information. Another example is a very nice reporting on training attendance. So you can really look into how many smallholder farmers did you actually reach, right? Which ones were the trainings, like you have basic agricultural technologies, proper use and storage of pesticides, integrated plant and pest management. So this is all the knowledge that really big corporates are looking to bring into developing countries, because it can really help a lot to increase the production on site. And then very nice, exactly the thing that I mentioned at the beginning, how does this ultimately help the smallholder farmer? It's all about this income report that you would get out of the data from the system, and where you would see, for example, here that a cotton smallholder farmer had a total earnings of 69 Uganda currency, 69,905 Uganda currency. And this really helps to get access to banks, to insurances, and really get the whole ecosystem involved, and to smoothen their activities of becoming an entrepreneur. So where are we with this today? I said in the beginning, it all started up being a project, a program that was promoted by SAP and GIZ in a public-private funded partnership. And back in 2017 or even in 16, we took a deliberate decision and said SAP will invest in the solution because we do see a business case, we do see market potential, and we also saw definitely requests from our customers. In 2017, we brought the solution to market as an SAP solution, and we have 5 customers across the globe. We are in 10 countries, actually, mainly in Africa. One of our customers is also deploying the solution in Indonesia, but the big part of the deployment is actually in African developing countries. We cover so far 9 crops with cashew, cocoa, coffee, and the others you see on the slide. But the solution is highly adaptable and is easy to adapt to other commodities as well. So to mention 2 customer examples, one of them is Callebaut. Callebaut is one of the biggest chocolate producer worldwide. They are actually located in Switzerland. And they have a very serious sustainability strategy. They have very serious KPIs, and they want to, for example, eradicate child work from their value chains totally by 2025. And our solution is actually helping them to better connect with the smallholder farmers and to exactly reach these goals, to really see how can they work better with smallholders and how can they have an impact on their lives and how can they, for example, eradicate child work from their value chain. Callebaut is live with the solution in Côte d'Ivoire as well as in Indonesia, as I said. A completely different magnitude and customer profile is Kalangala Oil Palm Growers Trust. It's a smaller organization that connects with 2,000 smallholder farmers in Uganda, and that is all about palm oil. And why am I bringing this up? Because I think it's important to understand that even though it is SAP who is usually helping the big corporates, this solution is also developed to cater the needs of smaller organizations, SMEs, how you would find them as cooperatives or like smaller organizations in developing countries. So it's quite sizable, and we can really adapt it also to those kind of companies. And there is no, let's say, burden why smaller companies could not deploy that actually in their environment. So in this context, I think it's important to say it's a standalone solution. There is no SAP, ERP backend or what else needed to have it run. So it's really on its own. It's running on SAP Cloud Platform, which means it's a hosted solution. And with that also makes it very easy to actually deploy. We have developed very nice training material to enable a smooth rollout, because as you can imagine, in some of these countries, sometimes it's very difficult to explain and to simplify the processes. And here we work together again with GIZ, who have very broad and deep experience working with smallholder farmers. Some nice pictures from the projects that we did in the past. I think in many of the projects, our development team actually from Karlsruhe, Germany, went on site and had a look at the processes and did a final customization actually of the solution, which I think ultimately results in a very close relationship also from our side to this project. The SAP Rural Sourcing Management, in my opinion, is a perfect example how we come closer to our vision to help the world run better and improve people's lives. It's a solution where we see a clear need, and what we also see from our customers, that they want to implement, that they want to roll out to hit the first mile in their agricultural value chains. For sure, they do it not only because of sustainability and make everybody's life easier, but also to secure their supply chain. But to be very honest, I think this is where really the pieces are coming together, how business can have a social impact. And SAP is actually doing a lot to support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And I think with this solution, we have a perfect example that fits very nicely into the strategy. And we also see this in very nicely reflected also from coverage from our board members. So having that said, I think I would come to an end from my end. I hope you found that informative. There is much more information available on this solution on our public website. If you go there on sap.com/rural sourcing, this is our public website. You will find there also videos and customer videos on it. And of course, you're also warmly invited to also contact Daniel or myself for any questions.
Perfect, Tanja. Wow, this was a very good and interesting and really impressive presentation. And I think it's not only helping the people over there to save their harvest or to get them employed, but also to develop them with all these skills in regards of to technology, for example, the mobile devices and so on. So I think it's really, really impressive. So thank you very much. I have pasted here the link. I hope I did it correctly, sap.com/rural sourcing. If not, please correct it. And now the audience can ask a question. So if you hover through your name, you can raise your hand and then I can unmute yourself so that you can speak up, or you can also ask your question here in the chat. And in the meanwhile, I paste here the link where the recording will be stored. And as Tanja mentioned, you can also get in contact directly with Tanja and Daniel on that solution. So this is the link where the recording will be stored in a few days. And I think there are no questions at this point of time. And we have only 4 minutes left, so this fits perfectly into our schedule. Thanks very much, Tanja. Thanks very much, Daniel. It was, for myself personally, really, really impressive. And yeah, I hope we will gain a lot more customer in the future because this is so important for the world. And thanks for being here in our SAP community to share your solution. And I hope I hear from you a lot more in the next weeks, years, or months. So thanks very much.
You're welcome.
And yeah, all the community people outside there, stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.